Ta-da! All right. Getting everybody in the room. Everybody's got their Jimmy Johns, hopefully. Get my chat going here so I could see everybody talking in the chat, which is a beautiful thing. Open the doors a little early because we had a lot of people coming in, so that was good. You guys can hit us up in the chat with any questions that you guys have. As we're opening the doors, we've got a lot of people signed in. Thank you, Tony, for that. We'll have some housekeeping that will get started. For those of you that are here early, we'll share some tidbits from the monthly managers meeting that I just had. What do we got here? So, yeah, interestingly enough, let's say cross country's volume for October of 2024 was $4.4 billion of mortgages done nationwide. So that's kind of exciting. 1 out of every 37 purchase loans in the United States closes with cross-country mortgage. And super excited to be here, that's for sure. So a couple of the good tidbits. If you're here early, you'll also hear, if you haven't already, that the conforming, meaning conventional single-family loan limits are now 802,650, 802,650 of the new Fannie Mae loan limits. Additionally, if you're here early, we're going to talk a little bit about the My Community Promise. That is a grant program that is available for conventional buyers who live in certain areas that qualify. They can get up to $6,500 in a grant, and there's more. They can also get a $500 appraisal reimbursement at closing, and there's more. You can also get up to $1,000 reimbursed at closing toward the price of the home warranty that's purchased. So it's really a value of about $8,000. If you guys want more information on the My Community Promise, we'll probably talk about it again this weekend in our weekend video. If you want some materials to market that out on social media, reach out to us and we'll make sure that you guys have that as well. Let's see, what else can I give to you early birders that got here ahead of time? Yeah, that's wait, we got. Yeah, we did get some new product in that meeting. One of the product announcements we had in the meeting is that we now have a in-house fixed second mortgage product, meaning it's not a line of credit. The person would get all the money at once for bank statements and 1099 borrowers. So borrowers who couldn't necessarily show all of their income on their tax returns might still qualify for a fixed rate second mortgage through that. Minimum loan amount on that's $50,000. So that was one other good thing. And so Tony said that oh yeah, it looks like Zoom had some sort of update. So if some of you haven't turned your Zoom on in a while, it looks like it slowed some things down for some of our people because we had more people in the waiting room than we have now logged in. So we're definitely going to give everybody a little bit of time before we get our sponsor who helped pay for all the sandwiches that you guys have. And yeah, we'll talk about that. Perfect. Getting our schedule ready for 2025. Hopefully you guys are excited because that's what this is all about, to get you guys ready for 2025. Tony's got some helpful information in the chat. If you haven't opened up the chat, please do. That's your way to communicate with us in the chat. If you don't have the email or access to the PDF that we're going to review is in the chat. You can open that up if you'd like to follow along. Also, if you have any challenges with your lunch order, Tony's put some contact information in there as far as how to get that. And at 12:01, we're going to actually get going. So stand up here. There we go. Making little adjustments. Shoot me a message in the text if you guys can hear me. and you're excited as I am to get our business plan started. So love to see a little bit of feedback there. So thank you, Yolanda. Good to hear from you. Cool. Anissa, saw you yesterday. Very cool. Good to hear from you as well. Okay. For those of you who are joining us, this is our lunch and learn session. We're very happy to have you here. Please ask questions in the chat. One of the things that I'd like to make sure that you have available is a pen, some extra paper. Like if you printed this document, that's great, but you may need to take some notes on the side. And then last but not least, a calculator. Now, most of you have a calculator. Like me, I don't use a calculator anymore. I use my phone. So pen, paper, calculator, you've got this stuff printed. Thank you, Crystal, for thanking us for lunch. We're actually gonna, speaking of lunch, Joanna, good to see you as well. Speaking of lunch, I want to invite on our lunch sponsor today, a Victor Orlowski. Victor sponsored our lunch. Victor is a general contractor. And he can do anything for you guys, such as maybe help you and or your investors with rehab of a home, maybe help your client with some improvements they need to get done to get the house on the market. Without further ado, I want to introduce you to my friend, Victor Orlowski. Victor, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Tony, for ordering all the lunches. Thank you, Richard, for having me. So a little bit about us. So we are a remodeling company specialized in remodeling kitchen, bathrooms, basements, additions. We can provide all the materials, or we can work with homeowners, investors, anyone who is interested in remodeling their home. Our area of service is Chicago and northwest suburbs. Yeah, and we do a lot of different things, even fences and small repairs for a lot of clients. Yeah, so that's a little bit about us, and thank you, Rich, for having me today.
Thank you very much, Victor. If you guys have any questions for Victor, Tony has added his contact information to the chat. Definitely just a great resource. As you guys know, with contractors, sometimes it's tough to find somebody who's reliable, good, knows what they're talking about. Victor's been over to my house and done work for me, does a great job. Highly recommend him. So his information is in there. On that note, thank you again. Any questions for Victor? Nope. Okay, perfect. All right, we're gonna slide over. One quick thing we noticed, Tony and I were talking about this yesterday. We noticed that we had sent out 2 versions of the business planning session. We're going to use one of those versions today. But I know, a lot of you guys have companies that actually do some business planning as well. I would say, first of all, congratulations for being here, being on the ball. Here we are in November early, and you're ready to go to start thinking about 2025. So that's awesome. If you combine this with some other things that your own office does and create that perfect plan, that's awesome. Let's get started. We're going to do a quick share screen here, and we're going to jump over to my documents. All right, it's going to slide you guys over to the middle so I can see the document. Slide this over, and I just got to open the chat so I can see that if you have any questions. Very cool. The chat's open. We got our document up there and a little feedback. How does that look? Want to make sure it's big enough and you guys can see it. Anybody give me a thumbs up with the little reactions that you guys can see what we're talking about here? All right, good. A lot of thumbs up. All right, I like it. Thank you, guys. All right, so this is the business planning session. One of the first things that we usually do with the business planning session is we kind of talk, you really, anytime you're planning for what's coming up, you really need to assess where you are at today. And we like this approach of kind of looking at everything in your life. Yeah, we talked about this as being a business planning, but honestly, if your work's going great, but home stinks, then that's not really effective. So we're going to talk about some things that maybe you guys can look at through next year and some planning and some things you could do. And then we're going to get into the numbers. Don't forget, for some of you that maybe have come in recently or later, it is really important that you have a pen, some extra paper, and a calculator. Calculator could be on your phone. That's the one I use. So let's get started here with the 7 boxes of life. And what I'm talking about here is we're going to take an assessment of where you are at today. Can't plan for tomorrow unless you know where you're at today. Now, in this where are you at today, so one of the things that I'd like you to put down is 3 of your top struggles today. Maybe your top struggle is not enough inventory. Maybe your top struggle is you need an assistant. Maybe your top struggle is that you are struggling with new buyer's agent's compensation situation. Maybe you just don't have your database all in one place, or you haven't figured out your CRM. This is the spot in this box. You're going to write down your top 3 struggles that you're going to have. So whatever your top 3 struggles. Me, I was looking for more closings. I think we all want more closings, right? We didn't hit our goals this year, but we did more than we did last year. So, I mean, I'm happy, but we didn't hit our goals. I'd like to convert at a higher level. I think lead conversion is something that a lot of us don't focus on. We have some other forms that we can teach on in the next couple of months. I haven't talked to Tony about this, but I think we're going to teach on lead tracker and some of the other things. But bottom line is, write down whatever your 3 biggest struggles are with work. All right. Next thing. Oh, Robin, hello. Good to see you. Next thing we want to talk about is Raven would love the lead tracker. Yeah, we've got some good, cool stuff we'll do with the lead tracker for you guys. All right, let's talk about money. So with money, what are the biggest concerns about money? Maybe you got some credit card debt to pay off. Maybe there's some student loan debt to pay off. Maybe you need to start that retirement savings that you've got. What are your 3 biggest struggles about money? Maybe just not making enough money, which in that case, you're in the right place because we're going to help you make more money next year. What are your top 3 struggles around money? Me, got some debt that I accumulated when I bought a building, did a big rehab on it, got to pay some of that debt down. What else here? Oh yeah, and I just wanted to break down, get a little bit more familiar with some of my stock investments, and I think I need to kind of reassess where I'm at with some of that stuff instead of just throwing it there and going, whatever. So those are some of my where am I now, my boxes of life. Next, we have love life. So this is always a fun one. So if you have maybe some issues with your spouse, maybe that's a struggle. If you don't have a spouse and you're single, maybe that's part of your struggle, is that you need to find somebody to have a relationship with. Whatever your 2 biggest struggles there in that situation, whatever it is, maybe better communication, maybe just, you're not on the same page. Maybe you're not on the same page on the financial matters, in which case we have a budget class that we teach to all of our clients that would gladly teach you guys. It's an outstanding class. What I like about the budget class is that it actually gives you a document that you could share with the other person in your house that you both make money, and you can kind of at least see where the money goes. All right, we're going to get out of the love life box and go to the family box. So what are the 2 biggest struggles with family? I know with me, because I work a lot, I don't see a lot of my family other than the holidays and the birthdays and all that stuff. And I'd like to change that. So one of my biggest struggles is I don't basically spend enough time with my brother and my wife's family and whatnot. So let's see. I've also got some new family members that I didn't know even existed, because my father passed away when I was 2, and I didn't know that side of the family up until recently. So I'd like to connect with more of those people. So that's one of my struggles, if you will. Raven's going to the budget class. Tony, send her the budget class invite. Okay. Other area that we'll talk about is spirituality. Now, this isn't like, we talk about spirituality. It certainly could, it certainly could be God or your church or whatever. Maybe you need a new church. Maybe you just need to go to church, but it doesn't have to be about that. Like for me, I write down there that I'd like to meditate some more. Maybe spirituality for some people could just be being outdoors and being with nature a little bit more. Whatever you think are the areas that your two biggest struggles there, write those things down. Gus is coming to the budget class. Good deal. Lourdes is coming. All right, good. All right. So spirituality, what are your top two struggles there? Now, friends. So on the friend side, what are your struggles with friends? I know a lot of us in the mortgage business and the real estate business, we don't even have friends outside of that industry. So maybe you just need to have some friends, some new friends, which is good for both of our businesses, of course. You have people outside of the industry that you have friends. Maybe you have somebody you had an argument with who's a good friend. Maybe you got upset over the election and you both didn't see eye to eye and you'd like to patch that up. Whatever your two biggest struggles are with friends. And then last but not least is self. What is your biggest struggle with self? When we do this class, and by the way, I've been teaching these first couple of pages for the last 7 years. As a matter of fact, the person who taught me this, they go over this every Thanksgiving. When they have Thanksgiving at their house, he hosts and the entire family goes through this process. So it's kind of cool. It's a good way to help you get ready for next year. So, all right, on the self side, we've got the thing that commonly comes up is weight. Like, hey, I need to lose some pounds. I need to get back to the gym. I think, I put in here that I like to read a little bit more. I've been reading a lot though. I got all those books back there done, but I'd like to read a little bit more because I enjoy that. Just taking better care of yourself. Maybe you just gotta schedule a little bit more self time, whether it's making sure you get to the gym, get a walkout, whatever. What are those areas of concern? Now, on the right side, you guys see these little boxes right here. On the right side, we got these boxes. I want you to rate yourself in each one of these categories. So for work, and I'm going to give you an example. Don't do it yet, but I'm going to give you an example what a 1 means versus a 10. So 1 means you're essentially out of work. It means that you're in a really not a great space. You haven't closed anything in the last year. Like this is a bad, like you're thinking maybe this isn't even I shouldn't even be in this career. 10 means that you're doing phenomenally. You're breaking all kinds of records, putting all kinds of money away. You're in great shape. You should be teaching me this class. So I'll give you one of my mentors is a gentleman who has over $100 million in cash in the bank, and he refuses to rate himself as a 10 on money. Now, personally, if I had $100 million in the bank, I would rate myself a 10. But the point of the matter is why I give you guys that distinction is because it's very difficult to be a 10. I probably think Warren Buffett, that's probably a 10. So if you're not a 10 in most areas, then, be realistic of what it is. I know I did this exercise myself in preparation for this. I don't have any 10s on here either. Thankfully, I don't have any 1s. When we talk about 1 on the money side, it means, hey, I'm about to file bankruptcy. That's kind of nasty. So rate yourself in those areas. Assuming that, and I'll give you a minute to do that, as you're going through that, what I want you to see is what you believe your biggest struggle is combined. What is the biggest area where you're like, holy cow, I never really went through an exercise like this. I didn't realize that I wasn't stepping up to the plate when it came to my love life, or I really was letting my family go because I've been just working too hard. Whatever that low area is, make a note of that. Make a note of that because the next sheet, we're going to figure out what we want to do in 2025 to fix this. All right. So our plan for success, let me go down 1 page. All right. So 1 year from now, where will you be? 1 year from now. So we're going to make a declaration, very powerful, about where we're going to be a year from now. So on the work life, so for me on the work life, I'd like to do 192 closings. We're not going to do that many this year, but I would like to. So my declaration for 2025 is 192 closings. My team doesn't even know that, except for Tony, because she's on the call. What I'd also like to declare is that we're going to have 80 leads a month. So we've fallen short this year. What I'd also like to declare is that we're going to have 20% lead to close conversion ratio, because that'll get us to the numbers that we need. Now, that being said, what do you want to declare? So you can use the things that you had written that were a problem, like, hey, I declare a year from now, all my leads are going to be in my CRM, and my CRM it will touch my clients no matter what, once a month. Make that declaration. I declare that I'm going to spend 2 hours a day prospecting. Make that declaration. I declare that I'm going to do 24 transactions, buy or sell side. Make that declaration. This is the box where you're going to put the things that you want to have happen in 2025. Now, on the money side, declare, I want to get rid of the debt. I want to put 20% of my earnings away. We do, by the way, teach another class that I'll talk to you guys about. Every other month, I teach a budget class for clients, my customers, when I gladly teach you guys, of course. And we also teach a class called Financial Freedom class. In the Financial Freedom class, we talk about making sure you put aside money for yourself. So maybe on the money side, we're going to write, I save 20%. So that's a good rule of thumb, is to save 20% of your earnings. Whatever your money thing is, and again, we want to frame these as declarations. So, for my debt I'll have my debt that I use for the construction on a building that I bought paid in full. That's my declaration. It'll be zero balance. And I will also make the declaration that I will know exactly what's going on in my investment accounts, and I'll be very familiar with where my money's invested, because it's important. You guys work hard for the money. I work hard for the money. Don't set it and forget it. Be very involved in your money. Okay, on the love life side, and maybe it's time to get a reasonable dating app. We won't say what I consider the unreasonable ones, but maybe it's time to get on a reasonable dating app, or go to your church or ask friends for recommendations. Like, hey, do you know of anybody who's single that you think might be a good match? Maybe you got to do some counseling. Maybe it's time to do some counseling. Maybe you just want to set something. This is something my wife and I have done for the last 7 years as well. We have a weekly date night. As you guys know, in the real estate business, there's events in the evening. You could be showing houses in the evening. It's very, very easy to get caught up in your life and not set time aside for your family and or your spouse. So we have a weekly date night. No matter what, we go out to dinner once a week, or take a walk or go see a movie. But we have one night where I'm not out entertaining or working late or whatever, taking applications. Let's see here. Next, on the family side, again, you want to maybe schedule, for me, I want to schedule more time with my family outside of the holidays. So we're going to schedule like dinners on a regular basis, or get-togethers, barbecues, things like that. Because I've got family that's 50 miles north of me in Woodstock, and we've got families that's 30 miles south of me down in Plainfield and Oswego. So you do have to schedule time to see those folks. Maybe, again, we talked about family where you might have had an argument over politics or something. It ain't worth it. Get back together with your family. That's more important. All right. Spirituality. And again, these are declarations. So if you say, I will have my new church, because maybe you don't like your current church situation, or I'll be attending church, or I'll meditate once a week. I'll meditate once a day. So whatever it is spiritually that you need to, where you want to be at the end of the year, this is what you're going to declare on this document. Now, with regards to friends, on the friends, you want to, again, however you want to do that. I want to set up, I know some people have never taken a vacation with their friends. That'd be cool. I know some people who regularly take vacations with their friends. Talk to your friends. Say, hey, do you want to go up to Milwaukee one weekend? Maybe we'll go see a ball game, or we'll go to Detroit or see a basketball game, whatever. So whatever it is that you need to do on your friend side, this is what you're going to declare. So at the end of 2025, I will have taken 2 vacations with friends, just friends, not my spouse, not my family, just some friends. Self declaration. By the end of 2025, I will have read 24 books. That's one of my self-declarations. By the end of 2025, I will be at this weight. By the end of 2025, I will have gone to the gym 3 times a week. Whatever it is for you, that's what you want to declare. By the end of 2025, I will be a member of the YMCA, of F45, of Orange Theory, whatever it is that you need to do. By the end of 2045, maybe I ran that 5K. Maybe I ran a marathon, something crazy. I wouldn't do that personally, but all right. Tony, a good friend goal. My friends and I are starting to send each other weekly update a few months ago. It helped us stay close, and people don't see often. Oh, that's cool. I like that. So that's a good one as well. So you're going to rate each one of these as far as what is most important. Now, the rating scale on the top is kind of a little bit off. So we'd want to use a rating scale that says 1 through 7. There's 7 areas. So 7 or 1 being the most important area for you to focus on. You can't use the number 1 more than once. So whatever that area is, write that down. Whatever the second most important area for you to focus is, I want you to write that down and get it all the way down to whatever is 7. Now, typically what I find is that people, the 7th thing is really, to you, the least important thing on your list. And maybe it's because, if the money's not right, maybe the family's not right, or you won't have time to do some of those other things. Maybe spirituality and getting grounded or taking care of yourself is the most important thing, because you can't do any of this other stuff if you don't have health. Can't buy health. I mean, you look at some of the very famous wealthy people that passed away too early, and it didn't matter how much money they had, they couldn't buy health. So write those things down. I'll give you a minute to do that. But what we want to do, once you guys are done with this, take a second to reflect on it and go, okay, I made this choice right here consciously to say my number 1 and 2 things that I need to work on are money and love life, family and friends, whatever it is. And on the next page, what is the most important goal to focus on? So where will you be when we do this class next year in 2025? So, and by the way, just because it says 2025 in the calendar does not mean you have to wait. You could start that now. Start the planning now. You can as you guys know, you're in real estate and mortgages. You meet a client today, that's not closing till next year anyway, most likely. So start whatever it is that you're working with now, like the year has begun. So how do we fix the things that we need to fix? So we go back to the first page and we knew some things were broken. Take a second and write a couple quick notes. Like if you're hitting that point where, this is a great example. I talked to one of my agents about it. We went out, she's actually here on the call, and hung out together, and we were talking. And she said she found a virtual assistant, and the virtual assistant was able to get her past the level that she couldn't get past herself. Now, you guys know if you hit that level, oh my gosh, I'm closing 3 a month, I'm closing 3 a month, and it bogs you down. You can't get to 4 because you're just doing too much of the little work. They got great virtual assistants out there that would help take some of that off your plate. So again, a virtual assistant might be something that you write down. Virtual assistants for real estate agents, there's a ton of them out there. All right. What quote or statement is going to sum up what 2025 means to you? So, I believe we started the year off with the statement. Well, Tony might have to correct me on this. I know we changed it once in the middle of the year, but one of the things was just believe. Believe in the goals that we have set. That was our word for a while, was believe. Maybe the goal is transformation. Maybe you're really trying to change who you are today so that at the end of 2025, maybe the goal, got some good ones. Gus said manifest. I like that. Implement is another great word. So implement, and those are another great words. Hit the chat, guys, with some words. Let's pick some words that you can use as your mantra, no matter what, this is my word that guides me. This is my word that maybe it's family, maybe it's God, transform, transformation, manifest, do put in the work, believe, whatever that is, grit. Love that, Mary Lou. That's awesome. So, but it's important that you have that word and the word that's going to motivate you. And it's okay to change it, by the way, as you start working on next year and you go, hey, this isn't really the word that gives me the fire to go get it. Ah, nice, Anissa. Grace and organize, abundance. I love that word. So whatever it is, write that word down, and that's going to be your guiding post or your guidepost, if you will, for 2025. And even if it's a dollar amount, maybe it's just like, hey, I got to hit some production number. Make that your number, and if that's what lights your fire, that's what you need to do. Love discipline too, Anissa. That's awesome. All right. Where will you be in 3 years? I really, really like this piece of it because, planning, what are we planning 2025 to accomplish in 2027? For me, I'd like to have my team be 5 instead of 3 LPs. Tony's part of the team, of course, but my team are the ones that are actually working with you guys as far as that's concerned. So I'd like to have 5 versions of Gunnar, David, and Kareen. So that would be bigger for us. I know what that would mean to us in the volume way, as far as that's concerned. So whatever it is that you guys, where you want to be in 3 years, really, start just penning it down. And you can come back to this document, obviously. Start thinking about where you want to be. For some of our younger agents, maybe we're building a team. For some of our older agents, maybe we're getting ready to transition into retirement, whatever it is. But write that stuff down. All right. We are going to skip through here. And again, you guys can come back to these documents if we went too fast or you're really into it. You can always catch up to us. I really love this analysis. We were doing this long before I joined the core coaching. This is a core coaching document, but the SWOT analysis I know one of the major brokerages I work with uses the SWOT analysis. It's been around for a while. What does SWOT stand for? Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So as you're looking at your business right now, it's a really good idea to figure out what your personal strengths are, what your personal weaknesses are, and what your opportunities and threats are. So I'm going to give you guys some examples in here, but I want you just to write this down, even if you write it on a separate piece of paper, whatever. Let's talk about strengths. So and I'm going to give you my examples. Strengths, I have a great team. So I have a great team, which does include Tony. She makes all of this happen. None of this stuff would happen without her. She was a game changer for our business. I have a great team with regards to David, Gunnar, and Kareen. So that's certainly one of our strengths. We have a great brand. Cross Country is the largest retail lender in the United States. So pure retail, there's only 2 companies that do more business than us, but they do wholesale and retail. And then, we have a really, really good CRM. So our CRM helps us keep track of all our realtors, all of our clients, and everything that's going on. So that's certainly one of our strengths. I have a great coach and coaching company in the core. I've had great mentors because of the core. So that's certainly one of my strengths. If I get into a pickle, I can call some people that do way more business than I am, are worth way more than I am, get them on the phone and get some quick answers. I also, for you guys, you might want to put down that you have a great lending partner that cares enough about you to help you with your business plan. Now, all kidding aside, a great lending partnership is really important to your business. So on the strengths, those are going to be your personal internal strengths. Now let's talk about weaknesses. Everybody has them, no matter how perfect we think we are. So I'm going to give you guys some examples of some weaknesses. By the way, these are not my weaknesses, but there are some examples. Maybe you have no social media presence. That's a problem. I'm going to talk about social media for a quick second. I do not believe necessarily that social media generates business, but I am very aware that social media will establish who you are and help you get business. What do I mean by that? So if somebody refers you and says, "Hey, you got to call Gus. He's awesome. He's on his game. You really got to call him and get a hold of him." One of the things that person might do is go, Gus, huh? Let me go check out and see what's going on with Gus. Let me go look him up on the internet. Let me go see if he's on Instagram. Let me go see what he's up to. Now, Gus is on Instagram. He's doing all kinds of cool stuff. Cool. All right. So now I got my friend that referred me, and I can see that he's active and he's actually out there. I'm calling Gus. I know some people do get business from social media, but I know that's also a very long game. You got to spend a lot of time and hours. You can get business from social media if you're getting referred and people have a place to go check. So sorry, I didn't mean to sidebar on social media, but I think it's important, but it's not where all of your focus should be as far as lead generation. Maybe I need an assistant. Maybe that's one of my weaknesses. I need an assistant. Maybe it's a virtual assistant, something like that. Maybe I have all of my leads in a shoebox and I haven't created them digitally, or I have a CRM that's just not working for me, or I'm not using it. My company provided me this great CRM and I just didn't care enough to try to figure out how to use it for myself. Maybe at my company, there's no leadership. Maybe I just don't, nobody's really there to help me out. I chose a company that maybe, they're minimal fee structure, but sometimes you get what you pay for. Maybe I have no business plan. Wait a minute, you're here. You do have a business plan, but if you didn't have one last year, maybe that was part of the reason, maybe that generated the results that you had. Maybe I had no way to track my leads. Again, we're going to do a class on Lead Tracker where you guys can track your leads and a couple other forms we use at the core. We're going to do those. We got Tony and I'll pencil a class and maybe for December on that. All right. So those are weaknesses, whatever. Those are just my examples to give you guys whatever you think your internal weaknesses are. Now, opportunities. What are we talking about? Now, notice the word external is on there. So these are opportunities that are outside of your world. So what do you maybe not necessarily have control of? Well, if interest rates get better, that's a great opportunity because that's going to maybe loosen up people to maybe want to make that next jump. Another opportunity might be maybe the economy gets better. Maybe there's more jobs available. Maybe the price of eggs goes down and people feel like they can spend some money. Who knows? Maybe you know of a place to go work with some investors. Maybe you just landed an investor who told you, "Hey, my plan is to buy 6 homes next year. And I'm going to not only let you find them for me, I'm going to let you sell them for me." Those are opportunities. So what are just, and love to see some opportunities that you guys, some examples. You guys were great in the chat. What do you guys think a good opportunity might be coming up in 2025? While I wet my whistle so I can keep talking to you guys. Any ideas? Anybody? See, I said lower rates. More inventory would certainly be an opportunity, especially if you're working with buyers. Anybody else got any ideas for opportunities? Ba, ba, ba. Are we in a Jimmy John's food coma? What's going on? So give me some ideas for opportunities, guys. Cold calling. Nice, Anissa. Very nice. Very nice. Cold calling would be an opportunity. Anissa used to cold call from a different company. So unlike a lot of agents that I talk to, and even a lot of lenders, honestly, they're cold calling people who have an aversion for cold calling. If you worked in another industry that made you cold call, real estate's a great place to hang out because expired listings and FSBOs are a perfect place to get leads and get a lot of business. I know some very successful agents, like agents who are doing 6 figures in real estate sales, who basically started with cold calling. Expired and canceled listings. Good job, Mari. Sending letters to people in an area where your buyers are looking. I love that idea. You want to generate some leads. You got a buyer looking at a certain school district, a certain subdivision, nothing's for sale. Send the letter out. Foreclosures and pre-foreclosures, absolutely. For sale by owner, thank you, Tony. That's awesome. So thank you, Andrea, for the foreclosures, pre-foreclosures. Divorce, yep, working divorce attorneys is another great opportunity. I'm going to give you guys an opportunity that maybe you haven't thought of. One of my mentors owns lots of real estate in Charlotte, North Carolina. He owns an office building. He's got a 10,000 square foot toy, like literally like man cave, where he's got all kinds of cars parked. He's got a multi-million-dollar house, a log cabin, all this other stuff in Charlotte. Not once has a real estate agent ever called on him as an individual property owner and said, "Hey, I notice you own a lot of property. Do you have an agent? Is there something you're looking to do next?" Now, how would you guys maybe find something like that? Well, when you're driving around, if you happen to see a handmade for rent sign in front of a building that doesn't, and so it's a for rent sign, but it doesn't go back to a real estate company. The rent sign, I would be calling on that rent sign, like, "Hey, I see you have an apartment. Do you happen to be the owner?" Cool. I'm a realtor that works with investors. Are you looking for any other buildings? Have you thought about selling any of your other buildings? So that's a nice little tip to generate, go reach out to people who are big property owners or big business owners. The last couple of leads that I've taken in the last 5 days are people who have very successful businesses who are diversifying into real estate. So these are great opportunities. So if you know of somebody, you know a restaurant owner, you love the restaurant owner, you cater to them, why wouldn't you go talk to that restaurant owner and say, "Hey, do you own this building? Have you thought about taking some of the money from the restaurant, investing?" So these are great places to go. Burnt out landlords, exactly. Good job, Ed, and I love that. Teaming up with an estate planner is great. Probate for sure, for sure. So those are great opportunities. Let's talk about threats. So, and I'm gonna give you guys an idea or example of what threats would be, and then we'll have you put some examples in the chat. One threat for you guys is competition. That's a threat. Maybe somebody takes this buyer agency compensation and they come out. I've already heard of, I actually had a company approach me that wanted to open up a flat fee company, and they asked me my opinion, and I told them it was a bad idea because I love you guys. But I mean, the point of the matter is somebody could take this and maybe try to take advantage of the rule change or something, and that would be a threat, certainly. Lack of inventory is a threat. Just the fact that maybe rates don't come down next year, that's a threat from the outside. Another threat from the outside, certainly a lot of agents have looked at just the fact that they have to have a buyer's agency agreement, or the fact that maybe they've got a buyer that can't afford, maybe within a couple of, maybe by the end of next year, it becomes a little more standard practice that sellers aren't paying these buyers agents commissions. These are all threats. These are all things that we have to at least be aware of as we're planning our year for 2025. Anybody else got any ideas of threats? So we'll give you guys a minute. I'm going to use my Jimmy John's iced tea. Keep my voice going through the rest of this. Any other ideas? We talked about competition. We talked about rates staying high, lack of inventory. Anybody else have any other ideas of what would be a threat for why you wouldn't be able to hit your goals? Go to my notes here while you guys are working on that. All right, I am going to, maybe I covered them all. Tony, did I cover them all? Let me know if I got that covered all the threats. So, all right. So we've got, oh, here we go. Buyers who don't want to sign the agreement. Yeah, that's certainly a threat. They don't understand that they actually have to sign an agreement to go out and look with you guys. Like, that's a big deal. Pricing and appraisal issues. Absolutely. Absolutely. Bidding wars create prices that maybe can't be substantiated by appraisers. We have seen a little bit of that. And I'll tell you guys, when you see that from a mortgage perspective, you'll see that when the market cools off a little bit. So you start to see it when the market cools off. The sale prices are still accelerating, but because the volume in the market is cooled off as we're heading into the holidays and the winter months, And now maybe there's not as many comps to support these higher paced values. This is the time of the year that unfortunately you'll see a little bit more of that because the comps start coming down. I-10 loans affected by politics? Absolutely. Absolutely. Is there a situation where I-10 people, maybe politicians say you can't do I-10 loans? I don't know. We do I-10 loans. Matter of fact, we do I-10 loans not only for buyers, but we do I-10 loans for investors that want to buy homes. And we do bank statement and cash flow loans for investors and a bank statement loan for an owner occupied I-10. So we've got some pretty creative I-10 programs out there. Low inventory for sure, Patty. Low inventory is always a challenge. I think that's one of the reasons we struggle with our conversion rate. I pre-approve a lot of people, but they can't find a house. It stinks. All right. On the SWOT match and convert. Welcome back, Joanna. Oh, I like it. Buyer's fears, misinformation, indecisiveness. Yeah, as a matter of fact, we just went through a period that was definitely a threat period in the sense that people didn't want to do anything with the election coming up. Whatever candidate they were rooting for, whatever, they were sure if the other candidate won, the world would end the next day. And a couple days later, the world's still here. And, win or lose, whatever, we all go on. So now they're ready, they understand what's coming up, and they can keep moving forward. Now, how do we convert some of these things? How do we convert some of these things? So one of the things you talk about matching strengths, I'm going to give you a couple examples of matching strengths and opportunities. If I have a solid CRM, which is part of my strengths, and interest rates go down, I guarantee you we're going to do well because we have access to our clients and we're going to be able to advise them, hey, rates went down, it's time to refinance. Same thing with you guys. If you have a great CRM and rates go down, you can advise them, hey, now might be the time to make that move you wanted to make, because now the difference between your 3.75 and 5.75 is not that big of a deal. Another thing, another way to look at it is, if I have a mentor or a leader, and a lot of you guys work at some great offices, I know you're broker managers, but I also know that a lot of agents don't pick up the phone as much when they need them, when they have like a tough question, or set up some time with some of these very successful people. Really successful people who work in your office should be, especially the senior management team, should be willing to sit down and help you with anything. And most of them have been where you are if you have any kind of struggle. So that's another good example. Anybody else that have examples of matching your strengths with your opportunities? The next thing that I would talk about is converting your weaknesses and threats into strengths. So how do we do that? Well, unfortunately, we'll go to the leadership thing. Maybe you have bad leadership at your organization. And maybe through this whole buyer's agents compensation thing, you were like, yeah, I don't know. They didn't tell us the right thing. I don't know. Maybe because you have decent competition, maybe it's time to go see what that competition's all about. Maybe that's why they are decent competition, because they're giving better leadership advice. Another thing to do is if you don't have a social media presence, so we talk about one of the weaknesses, hey, I don't have any social media. A virtual assistant can certainly help you get your social media rolling. So, and again, there are virtual assistants in the real estate industry. Do you guys have any other thoughts about how to convert some of these things and how to convert a weakness in a threat, how to combine a strength and an opportunity? Throw them in the chat. In the meantime, we're going to go on. Now, this is the numbers part. I got to clear out some of my notes because I have a lot of written notes here for you guys. Okay. So on this paperwork that we're about to go through, I don't want anybody to kind of get in their head like, hey, I don't have this number. So this is why I asked you to have a pen and a piece of paper, or use this printed document, write some notes, and then you can complete this stuff later. So here's what I mean. So your current taxable income is, now One of the things I know about a lot of agents and even a lot of loan officers is they may not know what their year-to-date taxable income is. It's cool. Write down a little note in this line or on a separate piece of paper. Go to business checking to see what my annual deposits were. Go find, for loan officers or somebody in a salary, go to my last paycheck stub so I can find out how much I made. So next thing, how many units did you do this year? So how many units have you done? And, we're late enough in the year. I think we can pretty much forecast what we're going to close through the end of the year. Most of your deals are probably going under contract. If you got serious buyers or buyers that are just going to struggle to find something until the spring. So what are your units? And again, if you don't have those, no problem. Little note, hey, go to my register or go to my profit and loss or go to my ledger at my office, wherever they keep this data, just make a note to go find it. Now, you shouldn't have to guess the next one. If you have staff members, write them down. I have staff members, whoever it is. If it's a VA, cool. I have one VA and one assistant that my office gives me that I pay a small fee for. Whatever that is, write that down. Your current business expenses, and again, I don't expect you to have this, but you likely run your business through a checkbook, and you can go online and figure out what you've spent for your continuing education, for your license fees, for whatever fees your brokerage charges you, your social media fees, whatever it is. You want to show what your current monthly or your current expenses are on a monthly basis. So we're 11 and a half months into the year. If it makes it easier for you, just go through the first 10 months, divide it by 10, and that's going to be, so go through August 31st and divide it by 10, and those essentially are your expenses. My sources of business this is where the lead tracker would really come in handy, and knowing where you're getting your business from. Knowing your numbers, I know you guys have heard that statement, know your numbers, know your numbers, know your numbers. In the core, and we had the owner, Rick Ruby of the core out here a couple months back. If you don't know your numbers, if you can't measure where you're at today, how are you going to know where you're going tomorrow? So your sources of business on your side are likely social media. We talked about that. Maybe not a big source. Maybe you're buying leads. That's a source of business. Referrals from past clients, big source of business. Somebody in here mentioned cold calling. Maybe that's your source of business. Are you working divorce attorneys? Maybe that's a source of business. Maybe you are a big rental agent, and I know some rental agents who have converted those renters into future purchasers and got that. So where exactly is your business coming from? What are your sources of business? And by what percentage? Is all your business coming from your database? Good to know something like that. Where would I maybe want to spend more money and more attention is on my database. Maybe instead of spending X amount of dollars on social media or buying leads, which produced a whole 1% of my closed volume for the year, maybe I want to take that resource and do a party for my clients. Christmas party. I know one of my favorite agents buys an ice cream truck and has it out in a place. We just had a trunk or treat out in our parking lot. So maybe I want to spend some money and give back to my database. If you don't know where your business is coming from, you can't put the resources there to grow it. All right. Number 6, what is the biggest weakness in your business? Now, most likely you already wrote that down from the sheet that we started with. So what's the biggest challenge? Whatever that is, we're going to put that right in here. What is my net income per transaction? Again, this is something that we should know. You don't need to know it now. Make a note where you will go to find this information and figure it out. So again, you're going to probably look at your business checking account. You'll see how many deposits you made. And we talk about net income, right? Okay. So deposits, we're going to take the deductions that were not money you took out personally and divide that by the number of units. Super, super simple. Let's see, I love that. Joanna added doing a charity drive could be a really good source of new business and a reconnection with past customers. We are actually doing for our closed loan customers this year. We provide pies for those agents who have actually become a customer of ours, meaning you've actually gotten a mortgage from us. You've got an invite to have some a free pie on us. One of the things that we started doing, thanks to Tony's help, is we did a toy drive. So if a client came in to pick up a pie, we asked them if they would be kind enough to bring a toy. And last year we brought I think a carload and a half. I could be wrong. Tony would know. We all need a Tony. That is correct. We all need a Tony. But we literally brought a carload and a half of toys to a local elementary school here. And, and talk about giving back to the community, talk about connecting with your clients at a deeper level, and talk about doing good. That's all it right there. Oh, there you go. Tony's still pitching up the toy drive. So, she's got an Amazon wish list that we got from the school. Very cool. Thank you, Tony. All right. So, now next thing, we talked about how to figure out your net income per transaction. Okay. So you're going to take, again, deposits minus your real expenses in that checkbook, excuse me, and then divide that by the number of closings you had. That's your net income per transaction. That number is going to be really, really important. Don't freak out if you don't have it. We'll need it. You'll need it when you finish this form. My yearly savings was, we talked about that early. What percentage of your savings did you save? This is the number here is a little off in the sense it says percentage of income was, so it really, the dollar sign should probably be in front of the second line. We'll fix that, but hey, I saved, you can go back and say, hey, maybe I made $48,000 net in my business, and I was able to save $1,000 a month. Cool, you saved 25% of your income for a savings total of $12,000. Now, one quick thing, and I teach this in the budget class. If you pay off debt, I pay off debt, like you maybe paid off some debt against your home, maybe you sent an extra $500, that's also savings because you did create equity for yourself. So if you paid off some debt, you can consider that savings as well. My current hours are, you should know what your hours are. And this piece is really important too, because nobody really thinks about this piece. Look, if you're working 6 hours a week because you got another job and you got family and everything else, and you're upset with your results, you're part-time. So I mean, it is what it is. So just keep that in mind. If you close 2 or 3 transactions, but you only work 6 hours a week, if you took 52 times 6, that's roughly, I want to get my calculator out. Please hold. Some of you probably already do. 6 times 52. So you work 312 hours, but you closed 3 deals. Let's say you netted $12,000 on the 3 deals. And if you work 316 hours, 6 hours a week, netted $12,000, you would have had a hourly rate of $37.97. That's why it's really important to know the hours you're working a week, because you also eventually, if you want to get big, you need to know what your hourly rate is, because then you're going to start making decisions about what you want to do and what you don't want to do. You can hire an assistant to do some of the paperwork tasks. We just said that person working 6 hours a week who netted $12,000 made $37 an hour. At $37 an hour, you probably shouldn't be doing data entry or building out your CRM. You should probably find somebody for that who you can pay a lot less than $37 an hour. All right, that's why that part's important. My average sales price is, boy, you really got to know this. What is my average sales price? And again, I don't need you to stop. Just write down a note where you would figure out what your volume was for the year, divide it by your units, you're all set. All right, moving on. Now, you have your numbers from last year. This is going to help you build out your numbers for this year. So in the 2025 business plan, you want to write down, hey, I need to make X amount of dollars. In order for you to make X amount of dollars, you'll need to know what you're making on average per transaction. Once you know how you make average per transaction, divide that number into my taxable income will be for the year, and that's how many units you need to make. So if you average $4,000 net, and you want to make $40,000, then you need to close 10 deals. So it's just that simple. Again, you can personally work on these numbers. I just want you guys to write these formulas down. So you take whatever your goal is, divide it by however your average net income was, and that's the units that you're going to want for line 2. Let's see here. And as you grow, figure you will need staff members. I believe, oh yeah, here. So this statement right down here, this realtor should add 1 staff member per 3 sides. If you're doing 3 sides, if you're doing 3 sides of business, you need help. You now are making enough money to, at minimum, bring in a virtual assistant to help you out with some of the things that you shouldn't be doing. You're being paid to be face-to-face on the phone with somebody. That's where your value is. Your value is not in data entry. Your value isn't making sure your social media is up to date. That's not where your value is. Your value is in the sales portion of it. That's what we are. We're in sales. So if you're doing 6 sides, yeah, you should have a couple people working there. And that, by the way, that number came from the core, wasn't my number. Oh, what's 3 sides? Cool. 3 sides. So we talk about sides on this. So maybe Yolanda, you had 2 purchases in 1 listing sell. So a side is every transaction has 2 sides, the buying side and the listing side. So if you represented 2 buyers and you had one of your listings sold, that's 3 sides. Hopefully that made some sense. So those are sides. So, all right. So, perfect. Thanks, Yolanda. All right. So if last year you weren't happy with your results and you want to maybe go out and pursue some newer business, hey, where will my sources be? This actually, we're going to make this tweak too, Tony, make a note. Just where will my sources of business be? Not necessarily new sources. These could be the sources you had last year, but you should know if you said, hey, I want to do 1 unit a month. So I want to do 12 units for the month. Where's that coming from? This is what you should know. Well, I'm going to do 12 units and 8 units are going to come from my database. 2 units are going to come from working the Chamber of Commerce and hanging out with business partners. And 2 units are going to come from this divorce attorney that I know who refers me all the time. Cool. At least this is part of having a plan, is knowing where the business is coming from. Andrea, can you repeat the formula for net income per transaction and how to get my hourly rate? Yes, I can. All right, guys. So I'm going to finish here about the new sources. So does anybody have a question about how, again, this should just be sources of business. And are we going to get these slides and PDFs? Robin, you should have these. They are actually in the chat. And we did send them to you via email. Oh, yeah, Tony already covered that. Very good. All right, we're going to go back a slide. So Andrea wanted to know, let's see, can you repeat the formula for net income per transaction and how to get to her hourly rate? Okay, so you're on the net income per transaction. You guys all have a separate checking account for your businesses. So you're going to go through, add up all your deposits, subtract your expenses that it took you to run the business, whatever those expenses were. Do not take out the money you give yourself. So I know sometimes you'll write a check to yourself out of that account. That's not what we're talking about. Whatever your expenses are. So all your deposits through the end of October, all of your true real estate related expenses, then that is your net income through October. Now, so that's how, now, if if the net income through October is $12,000 and you did 3 transactions, well, now you made $4,000 a transaction. So you're going to take your net income and then divide it by the number of sides that you had from January 1st through October 31st. So whatever the net income, divide by the number of sides. Now you know an average transaction walking into your world is worth X amount of dollars. So it's kind of cool to know that when the phone rings, that phone call could be worth $4,000. Could you be motivated to maybe not let it go to voicemail? Like, hey, that could be $4,000 on the other end of that call. This is why knowing your numbers is very, very powerful. Now, let me go back to, so we figured out the net income per transaction. Now, to get your hourly rate, we're going to go back to that same $12,000 that we netted. If we figured we were, there's a lot of agents out there that are part-time, they've got a full-time job, they maybe got a family, and legitimately, they might only be putting in maybe 6 hours a week. So you're going to take the hours that you're putting in every week, multiply it through the end of the year. So I'll give you guys an example. We just did this. So if we did 6, I'm going to actually multiply it by 50 weeks because I think there's probably 2 weeks where we're on vacation, whether it's Christmas week, Thanksgiving week, whatever. So I'm going to take 6 times 50, which is going to give us 300 hours that we worked for the year. So whatever hours you figured you work, multiply that by 50, not 52 weeks. So the number of hours worked per week is the formula, times the number of weeks worked will give you the total hours you worked for the year. So in our example, we know we netted $12,000. Again, we're very part-time, but we netted 12,000. We took the 12,000, we divided it by the 300 hours. And in that case, we made exactly $40 an hour. Working part-time, that's great money. So there's nothing wrong with making that kind of money. So working part-time, that's great money. And Tony just reposted. Andrea, did that make sense? Let me know. And I can walk through it. Are you guys all good on that? Give me a thumbs up somewhere. A reaction, a chat. All right, I'm going to go on and assume that's good. All right. All right, lots of thumbs up. Awesome. Thank you very much, guys. All right, so I will improve on what? So we already went through, not only did we go through a SWOT analysis, but we talked about our 3 biggest struggles. So what's the big thing? What's the thing thanks, Yolanda. What's the big thing that moves the needle? So for me, it's conversion. We just have to convert at a higher rate. If I get less leads, then I got to convert at a higher rate. So that's kind of where my focus has to be. What do I need to do to convert at a higher rate? That's where my focus is. But if I don't track, I don't even know what my conversion numbers are. I do and have tracked for years and know exactly what my conversion numbers are. All right. Net income for transaction. There you go, Gus. Yeah, I get it. So Gus mentions his weakness is consistency. The biggest way to fix consistency is find an accountability partner, somebody who has the right to get in your face and say, look, you told me you were going to work 20 hours just in prospecting last week and you didn't, and with that accountability partner, you guys got to figure out how you get motivated. Is it a bet between the two of you? Hey, if I don't do that 20 hours, I got to take you out to lunch. If I don't do that 20 hours, I got to wash your car. I don't care what the motivation is, but one of the keys to consistency is having an accountability partner. So that would be my recommendation. All right. Whoops. I don't want to scroll away from that. All right. So my net income per transaction will be. So this part's important too. There are some very high producers out there that don't make as much money as you think because they spend, there's some producers I know that spend 6 figures buying Zillow leads. 6 figures buying Zillow leads. Have teams of like 12 different agents, buyer's agents, staff, blah, blah, blah. Their net income isn't really what it should be because their business it's just not well run. So maybe when you did that little analysis that we did in the prior screen, you figured like, oh, why am I only netting like 2 grand? Like, what's going on? What can I go back in my budget and fix so my net income per transaction? Maybe I just need to be at a higher price point. What am I doing selling $250,000 houses when I'm right next to 3 neighborhoods whose average sales price is 550? Let me change my geographic area. So what's my net income for transaction going to be this year? What's my target savings rate? Look, if I hit that number on the top, whatever that number is in line 1, what is 20% of that? That's what's going in line 8. So when you guys figure out, well, when you've decided on a number for line 1, 20% of that is what goes into line 8. And my hours will be, hey, maybe I look back and I'm like, I'm just not putting in enough time and it's showing in my results. Maybe I look back and go, I'm putting in too much time. And you know what? At $40 an hour, I can afford to pay somebody and cut my hours back so I can reconnect with my family and my love life and spend some more time with church and some of those other things that we talked about. And again, we talked about this too, sales price. If I want to raise my net income, maybe I got to work different markets. Maybe I got to do commercial loans. Maybe I just got to target different areas. So it's important to know what your sales price is going to be. So mapping out a year, you guys all have a copy of this, but using what your goals are, you guys should create a list of tasks of things that you want to do and start breaking down those tasks and scheduling them. So I'm not going to read this entire thing, but you know what you need to do as far as I know I want to start getting business from financial planners. Cool. Let's go meet some financial planners. I know I want to get business from, I'll give you a great example. I was talking to an agent the other day about this. Actually, and some of the agents on this call will know who it is. She said she went to a networking event. She collected 40 cards and she handed out 40 cards. And I said, you know what? That's not where the work is. That's great that you did that, but now you circle back with those 40 cards. And how do we do business with those 40 cards? I'm going to give you guys a couple ideas how you can take those 40 cards and make great sales calls. If any of those, I would take those cards up and divide them into 2 sections. One section would be people who you met at the networking event or the Chamber of Commerce or the birthday party, wherever it was. People you met who also sell to consumers. Contractors, doctors, insurance agents, attorneys, financial planners. That batch of cards you've got, I'm actually calling each and every one of those people and saying, hey, we met at the Chamber of Commerce meeting. I understand that you're trying to get more business because otherwise you wouldn't be at the Chamber of Commerce meeting. How can I help you get more business? Can we meet for a cup of coffee so I can figure out what I'd like to do as an agent is add you to my preferred vendors list, but I want to learn a little bit more about you. When you're at that appointment, you also get an opportunity. And again, most decent people will say, hey, at the end, how can I help you, Mari? Or how can I help you, Anissa? What can I do for you, Lourdes? Hey, how do I help you? Well, hey, thanks for asking. One of the things that you could do is if any of your clients are looking for a home or stopping your renting or whatever, here's my information. Now, your B2B clients, so your clients who maybe are business owners, maybe they're selling to other businesses, I'm going to call those guys and say, hey, by the way, I see that you're successful in your business. Do you own real estate? Are you investing in real estate? Is this something I can help you to do? So that would be one of the things that I would write down when I hit an event. The work really starts after the event because that's when you do your networking. Let's see here. I'm going to jump in the chat. Numbers of hours a week, numbers of hour per week, times the number of weeks worked is equals the hourly rate. No, hold on a second. Yeah, that's pretty good. So Jessica answered that pretty well. So hopefully that helped Andrea. And Andrea, if you're still struggling, we can do this on a one-on-one, but Jessica has got a good explanation for that. All right. So if you decided that you wanted to attack your marketing in 3 different areas, maybe you want to mail to a farm, Maybe you want to work on your social media. Maybe you got to get face to face. So write down whatever your list of activities. I would take this form, and if direct mail ain't your jam, replace it. Replace it with attending chamber events. As social media is not your jam, replace it with, I'm going to go attend investor club meetings. Do you know there's investor club meetings all over Chicagoland? A room full of people who just want to buy and sell real estate. Find those rooms. The acronym for those are real estate investment groups. So you can look up Chicago area REIAs, REI, and you'll find meetings all over the Chicagoland area. Not a bad place to rub some elbows with an investor. Or just drive around your neighborhood and pay attention to the signs that say for rent. Even if they say commercial for rent, write down that number, especially if it's a handwritten sign or some sort of bandit sign like that, and they're trying to rent their building. I want to know who that is. I want them as one of my investors. You can also divide your tasks up. Hey, in the first quarter, I'm going to get my CRM together. In the first quarter, I'm going to make sure that by the end, March 31st, I'm going to have a virtual assistant and my CRM type. In the second quarter, maybe I'm going to, now that I got the CRM, I'm going to figure out what I'm going to do with them consistently to mail, reach out, contact, and I'm going to hit some chamber events and find some events where I can meet some business owners. This is how you're going to set your plan up for the next year. Now, this being said, we are going to teach a class. I am declaring, so Tony didn't know about this, but I'm going to declare I'm going to teach you guys a class from the core training on lead tracking and the greatness tracker. The greatness tracker is the core's plan on what you should be doing every week to generate business. So we don't have a date on that yet, but we are committed to teach you guys that before the calendar turns to 2025. Do you have any questions on anything that we covered? I'm going to get out of the share. Ta-da! Anybody have any questions at all on that? Feedback. I know Tony will send you guys a little feedback survey. Again, if this doesn't cover exactly what you need, it will at least give you a foundation. Knowing your numbers is critically important. Knowing where you want to be is critically important. Again, your business, whether it's your trade association, your office may have another class that they may do. Combine some of this. Take the best of what resonates with you. Do yourself a favor, though. Have a plan. Don't be a ship floating around in the ocean. It doesn't no idea where it's going. Have a plan how you're going to get from where you're at today to where you want to be next year. Thank you, Robin. I appreciate that. Yolanda, I appreciate you guys very much so. Our next, we are working, our personal budget class will be November 21st at 5:30. It's a class we do generally for homeowners. That's why it's a little later in the day. The class, even though it's allotted for an hour, I'm usually done in about 30-35 minutes. The personal budget form we'll teach there is a form that my wife and I have used for over 7 years, and it's phenomenal. Every month we kind of get a financial check-in. We know exactly where we stand, and if you guys use it, you'll be able to do that too. Our January, we will have a December class based on lead tracker and greatness tracker from the core forms. And let's see here. We also have, we're working on a January date to talk about HomeBot. HomeBot's a awesome, cheap tool to keep in touch with your clients. If you're not keeping in touch with your clients in some sort of email base, check out HomeBot. It's fantastic. I want to thank a few people, Victor, always for your friendship. Appreciate the things you've done to help out, certainly my house personally, fix that stuff. And our conversations, I appreciate you sponsoring and your support for our group. Tony, can't go without saying, she's been here 4 years, and it's been an amazing 4 years because of her being part of our team. So I thank you. For all of our agents that do business with us, thank you guys very much. And we'll be doing a lot more fun programs for you next year. Thank you guys very much. Tony, like this. Thank you, Lucia. We got the time in there. Thank you, Precious. Appreciate that. All right, guys. Oh, one last thing. If you want me to come out to your place and do this live, I would be more than happy to do that. Just reach out. Have a great day, guys. And thanks again for your attendance. Still got the thanks coming in. Maybe you should hang out for a couple more attaboys, Tony. So this is good. Bye. Tony said bye to everybody. So that's good. Thank you, Victor. Appreciate that a ton. Thank you, Mary Lou. The message is coming in. Great job, Rich. Thank you, Mari. Thanks, Victor, again for the lunch. Don't forget to use Victor. So he's great. So we do enjoy him. And I know we've gotten great feedback from the agents. All right, guys. Have a great one. Bye-bye.